Hey, folks, welcome to the BeyondTheBaselines.com podcast. I'm Ed Shanafi, and this week we've got Dave Henion on the line with us. And Dave has left hospitality in the club management world and has moved into healthcare. And I just thought it would be wonderful to bring his two viewpoints onto the podcast because he has a lot of experience in both hospitality, club management, and another industry, healthcare, and I want to see how those two things juxtapose. Welcome, Dave, to the podcast. Great to see you.
Thanks, I appreciate it.
So, do take us through your golf career, uh, okay, and where you started and why you started, and then how you progressed, and then how you just made the decision to move on to healthcare. So, but start with the golf. Let's hear about a little bit of the golf.
Okay, sure. So I actually grew up in the Met section. I grew up in southwestern Connecticut, and then played junior golf. Went to the University of Georgia to play golf. I was a walk-on there, and then coming out of college, I was either going to go to law school. Was my intent, and then I had some people talking about golf, and I got a talked with Charlie Robeson back in the day at the Met section and got into the golf business. So I started working at Woodway Country Club in Darien, Connecticut.
Darien.
Yeah,
So Western Connecticut, is that like Kent,
Southwest.
Connecticut?
I get
Southwest?
Fairfield County.
Fairfield
Fairfield
County.
County.
Okay, yeah, great. So there you are, Woodway.
Yeah.
Woodway.
So I was at Woodway in 1990, and then worked there with Mike Ballard Sr. Actually was there when Mike Ballard Jr., who's now a pro at Tamarack, was born. And then so I worked several years there. Then I went down to Florida. Went to work at Hawks Nest Golf Club in Vero Beach.
Yep.
Spent a few years down there, and then went back up north to Siwanoy Club, and then got my job as the director of golf at the Appomattox Club. Uh,
Small club,
yeah,
small, right there
yeah,
in Lower Westchester, right?
yeah, yeah.
So
So
you'll be happy to hear Hawks Nest, got purchased. Were you there when Moorings purchased it? Were you
it was
there?
not. I had already left for by then, but yeah,
Oh, okay.
but I heard that, and
Yeah. And they just returfed it. Apparently, it's the best club in Vero, the best course in Vero.
is that right?
And
Okay.
yeah. And then you went up to Siwanoy, which folks is in Bronxville, New York.
Correct. Yep.
Great club there. Lots of storied tradition, kind of right tucked in there,
Yep.
not far from Winged Foot.
No, correct.
Uh, and then Appomattox is just a couple towns over.
Exactly
So
right. Yes, as you know, it's so condensed in that area of all great golf courses of everything. So yeah, it was a great run, but at the same time, it was challenging as these jobs always are, right? And it got to a point where I just said it, and I was married at the time, and it got to the point where it was too much for all of us, for me, for my wife at the time, and decided just it was time to go, time to get out of golf entirely.
yeah.
And she had wanted to go down south, and she said she'd heard me say nothing but great things about the south, and we made a move down to Georgia. And I had some friends that I knew from New York that had a business down here. Anyway, it just it made its move. But that really wasn't the final stop. Really, what happened was I was playing golf with a friend of mine he worked for IBM, had a big golf tournament that his boss wanted to win, and they used me as the ringer. And as we're playing, I was very good at the time, right, for relative to now. And so long story short, we're winning this tournament, and the vice president says to my friend, this is going to do good things for your career, at IBM, and this is going to help you. And I just looked and I said, well, what's it going to do for me? Since I'm the one doing most of the work here. So I said I kind of bartered for a job at the time, and sure enough, we won. And I said to him, what about that job? And next thing you know, he says, here, talk to my assistant. And 3 weeks later, I was working at IBM, so I was in technology. So it was a quick change from one to the other, and then that parlayed into a job within the corrections health or the corrections space within technology, and then that after 15 years worked into where I am now in the healthcare side within corrections. So I work for a private healthcare provider in the jail and prison market.
They always say the best deals are done on the golf course, and that was a hell of a deal.
It's very,
Got you out of golf.
it very much did, yeah. So golf was very, very helpful and influential, kind of growing up, college, post as a career, and then into the business world, in which, I mean, I would say a lot of my work is done. I mean, I traveled around playing in tournaments, the scrambles and everything from sheriffs and everything else across the country. So it's been a beneficial part from like you said from a business perspective.
Yeah. So, what did you take away from your golf and hospitality career and bring to IBM? Because that's kind of a question a lot of us think about. We can't teach golf. I mean, you can, but we can, there's a burnout, and
Yep,
you had it, and your family experienced it, and I've seen it. I mean, people know I'm pitching my career differently, doing stuff like beyond the baselines. I don't want to be teaching 60 hours a week.
sure.
Um, so you had that point. You already talked about that point where you guys as a family decided. But what was easy and what was hard at IBM? Easy because of what you had done in the club space, and maybe hard
So,
because you hadn't experienced that in the club space.
well, yeah, I mean, not knowing, the business world at all, right? Kind of going into that. The best thing that I got out of my career in golf, and I even go back to when I was a kid and I was dropped off. My father dropped me off at Rolling Hills Country Club to caddy, and then I worked for the pro there for Joe Bostic for till I went to college, basically working in the bag room and everything else. It taught me to be able to communicate with executives because they were just people like anybody else. There's another member. You didn't know what they did, but I had I was very fortunate to either work with on a day-to-day basis or teach executives from Fortune 100 companies as if they were, and they were just known by first names, right? It was just Fred and Jim and John, and and what that did was it showed me to be comfortable talking to anybody, right? And that anyone, it's not a title that makes somebody better. It's kind of how what their station in life is, and every one of those people that I ran across um, impressed upon me that they could have big jobs, they could have big careers, they could have tons of money, but at the end of the day, they were struggling golfers, right? So they couldn't do something that I could do or others could do well, and it was a common ground. So that ability to be able to communicate and talk with people and being comfortable with that really translated into the business world because where you're in a true hierarchy system, right? You've got whatever level you are, especially IBM, which was so segmented, right? You've got your first line manager, then you've got your business unit executive, then you've got your VPs, et cetera, et cetera. I could talk to anybody in that, and oftentimes I knew people from outside IBM from a golf perspective that I kind of, in this case, like how I got into IBM, right? Just getting in from a VP was opened up a ton of doors internally just because I already knew somebody above, so everybody else below that felt like I must have been I must have known something or had something that
Something was going on.
something was going on, right? So
Um, because I always think, I think you've hit it on the head 100%, is that as a golf pro, tennis professional, whatever, food and beverage, waiter, waitress, you have to have the ability to communicate with members. And usually members are, tend to be kind of upstanding citizens who are, you know, pretty well off and big names in the town. I mean, at
yep,
the clubs you worked at, for sure, those are very elite clubs. So you're dealing with people who are, high in stature, working in law firms in New York or what have you. That does help. But what about the attention to detail? Did that help you at IBM? Because as you said, IBM is extremely regimented, and in our club space, you have to be too.
yeah, and that's a great point. So a lot of it, I can take IBM and even the intervening jobs that I've had since, and as I've worked kind of up into those higher levels within the corporate structure. Attention to detail, yes. I mean, so there's communication, which is one, which is obviously we talk in the hospitality space, it's all verbal, right? The ability to
Right.
communicate whether you're teaching tennis or golf or what have you. But at the same time, especially golf professionals, right? You have to convey, the rule sheets and everything else. You have to learn to write as well. I harken back to my degree at Georgia. I was a history major there, and part of that degree is a ton of writing, right? The ability to
Mm-hmm.
write and write proficiently and to be able to convey thoughts, and that also kind of put that in context with the golf side of things. Yeah, you have to be able to communicate in written form and verbally, right? So when you get into those, formalized emails, whether they're internal or they're to customers, right? You're trying to present yourself in a way that either differentiate yourself from competition or just on a different level, upscale or kind of at a higher level than whatever your particular kind of level is within a company.
Now, what I haven't said to the listener yet is now you're in the club governance side because right now
That's
you're, I
correct.
think, a president of a club,
Yes,
right?
I became president of Marietta Country Club last October. I was voted in the year prior, so I spent a year as president-elect. I've been on the board for 5 years now. So I came in as a tennis chairman. Actually, I spent
Okay.
3 years as tennis chair. Then I was voted in as the president-elect, and then I served that 1 year, and now I started a 2-year term as president this past October.
So the director of golf is looking over his shoulder or her shoulder all the time because you're a former
No,
golf.
no, well, it's a great, it's great. So we hired a new director of golf. We had a director of golf that had been there 22 years. He retired while I was on the board. We hired a new director of golf. Just happens that he was younger, right, in his mid 30s, out of Charlotte. He played golf collegiately up in we'll say the Met area at okay, no, I wanted to say Seton Hall, but that's wrong. But anyway, so when he came in, one of the first things we did was I sat down with him and I asked him to lunch, and that hour lunch turned into 3 hours. And I told him, I said, look, I'm not going to, even though I did what you are doing and you're tasked to do, I'm a resource. And more importantly, I said, I was you 20 years ago. I made a ton of mistakes. I thought I knew it all, and I don't want you to make those same mistakes. So I'm here as not, I'm never going to tell you what to do, but I'm here if you need help to call on me. And over the last 3 years now that he's been there, we have a great relationship. In fact, we're going to go on a golf trip up to Connecticut this week.
Oh, there you go.
A few of us are going to play. We're going to play Winged Foot
Yep.
and Weber and a couple others. So, but again, he and I'm never going to do what he does again, but it's great that we can he can use me as a kind of I hate to say mentor, but as a
resource is a good resource is a great word.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's like raising a kid, you got to let the kid make their own mistakes.
Yep.
And sometimes you'll see it, you'll see it before, but sometimes, you stand back, and I've seen it in my own staff. I've seen my staff go in and start a conversation on the wrong foot with a member, and it's progressively gotten worse. And I pulled them in and said, hey, I let you fail because you see how fast that can happen.
Right.
Right. So as club president now, is there an ethos, like, was there a club that you liked to work at more? And you don't have to say which one it was, but was there some, like, I have this club that I loved working at, and I always try to bring that wonderful ethos or that wonderful feeling or vibe or environment, whatever you want to call it, to the club at which I'm working now. Right. Do you have that going on as a president?
I'd like to think that really kind of, and it's not a cop-out answer, but they all shape me in different ways, right? So each one of those clubs and then the experiences after golf have all kind of formulated, kind of because when I got out of golf, I played a ton of golf at different clubs as well, and you see them from that different perspective from the golf side of it, right? I always said it's the other side of the counter, right? I was always behind the counter doing it this way, and now I'm on the other side of that, and so I have that respect for those that do that job, whether that counter is in the golf shop, in the tennis shop, at the maintenance department, or behind the bar, or what have you, right? And I kind of think of it this way. I used to tell people, when you're a golf professional, you have to ride the fence on everything, right? You can't take a stand because, and look at it today's times, right? I'm talking about the 90s and 2000s,
right.
When you could take a stand. And now, so it's even more important to kind of just, hey, even if you play dumb, and I hate to say it that way, but just say, look, I don't really follow politics, so I don't know, I can see both sides, right? You just kind of ride it because you never want to alienate one side of the membership. And as a result of that, kind of when it came to kind of leading the club at this point, I'm cognizant of that with the members' perspective, right? Some people are going to say this is the worst food in the world. We have to change this. Some are going to say this is the greatest food, or this is our golf program is amazing. Our golf program is terrible, right? So you hear all of this, and it's how you then go back to the communication, how you communicate to that one that says it's terrible. and then ask questions and say, well, what makes it terrible to you? Because I've heard the other side of this, that people love it. And when you get people to start communicating in that way, you kind of box them in, right? And then all of a sudden it's really just kind of a guttural reaction to something more it's intrinsic to them rather than what really is taking place.
Right.
And that all goes back to me when I look at it, that's all part and parcel to where it started in the club world from, being a 13-year-old and caddying for people, and then as a club pro, and then moving on, and then just getting older, right? Just as you know, over
Yeah.
time, as you know as well, you learn through that trial and error. And again, as you've had people that you've worked for in the past that let you slip up, and then you learn from it.
Yep.
It's the same thing. So I think the other thing that I'm really taking to this role is really trying to bridge the gap between the employees and the members, making the members more keenly aware of the employees of the club and how they make the experience. It's not the golf course, it's not the facilities, it's those people. That's the reason why you come to Merida Country
The
Club. You
club.
come there because they know who you are. They treat you, there's a friendship and a bond there, kind of in that way that another restaurant outside isn't going to have, right?
Right. Right.
And that's what part when we talk about, and our general manager says this all the time, it's all about the member experience. And when I'm asked to define member experience, it's that every one of those employees makes my experience of the club better. Same with my wife. We show up and we feel like we're at home now,
Right.
there. And in showing that and kind of in living that day to day when I'm there, and the other members see that, I think that's kind of bringing things a little more together, right? It's not a divided line like you would see up kind of in the Northeast and at Westchester County, where it's really it's the members and it's the staff, and
It's
never
there is a
the two shall
definite
meet.
line and never the
Right.
two shall meet.
Right.
I, it's funny. I've had some, and you know it as well as I do. I've had some staff that gets a little too cozy
Yeah.
with members and their kids, and I have to pull them in and say, hey guys, once a month maybe, you have to be approved to go out with a member to dinner, that kind of thing. Up in New England, down here, a little different in Florida.
Yep. Yep.
And what's funny is a lot of the people travel back and forth, but it's just a different environment,
Yep.
and that's the difference of a club environment. So you're talking about the experience and what you're trying to do with the staff and the membership coming closer, and maybe, how can I say it, more philanthropic, maybe more, not philanthropic's not the right word, but better vibe between the two.
Yeah.
What do you think has changed since you've been a pro, and how would the member experience be different now than it was then? I mean, are members asking for more, do you think, as a member yourself? Do you think we're asking for more as members?
Yeah, I that's it's the hard part of it, right? And that's why I talk with our both our tennis professional and our golf professional. And I know them both very, very well. And the rest of the other pros and such. And it's a different world. Like when I was a golf pro, you just take the entire realm of the 90s, right? It was
Mm-hmm.
the golf pro was, especially up in the Met section, you were seen as, you were almost on a pedestal, right? Because not only your game was good, but it was just the knowledge base that you had, the ability to teach. And that was really the focus. It was playing and teaching, which was your primary role, and then running tournaments. And now the shift, I guess, even more kind of since COVID, it's really kind of been a little more of a hyper focus on this. It's more about doing everything for everybody all the time. So it's less of that. I'm a great instructor, and I'm also I run great tournaments. Now it's I want you to do everything for me. Just, and the demands are such that, like when you do automatic tee times, right? We online tee times for people. I don't want to do that. I shouldn't have to do that. And I have all my years on the board. It's been just to say, look, I understand that, XYZ, you might not think this, but the times have changed. They're not the same way they were 20 years ago, 15 years ago. The rounds of golf that we have now are double what they were. We're doing 41,000 rounds a year now, as opposed to 20 that your memory serves you as you just showed up on the tee and just went out and played.
Right.
It's a different world. More people are playing than ever. Women, children, right? It's the game
We got
has
more time out
grown.
of the office, all of us,
And
women,
that's
children out
right.
of school more,
That's
men out of
right.
the office more, women out of the office more. Let me ask you about tea times. Do you guys have automated tea times? It's not. You've got to book in the tea time. You got to get there at 7 a.m. the day before and hit the button, right?
No, we haven't, we have. So again, since my tech background, I've been pushing for this since I got on the board, which is we've got to embrace technology, right? So we have a pretty good app that goes along with our website too, so you can just do it all from
On the
there.
app.
And we have that time, right? So Tuesday through Thursday, you can get that the week prior, and then the weekend, you have to have it in by Wednesday of that current week, and we kind of do a little different. We've kind of blended it where because we have groups, right? So there's somebody that has a group of 50 players in their roster, and some have 30 over here. So our pro staff does a great job. They say, look, just send it to us by Wednesday. How many you think you're going to have? You might need 3 or 4 times, and we'll kind of block them out that way to accommodate. So there is a little give and take on that. So it's not
Yeah,
quite as rigid.
we have food reservations the same way when you've got a really busy restaurant, that, and tennis reservations the same. And what's funny is during COVID, we were so busy up at Sipicane where I am in the summer. I decided to we brought in the software court reservation. We had done that already, but then and people after the first year had forgotten that it used to be come up, put your racket down and wait, and there was an attendant waiting that you get the hour and a half, and then someone was waiting, they'd jump right on. After a year of computerized court times, no one talked about the way it was a year before. They forgot about it. But then when I brought in it during COVID, we had to do staggered courts because
Yeah,
you actually get more play with staggered court times. People argue that with me, but it's true.
yep,
And they argued that one. Now everyone loves them. Now the early birds get the 7 a.m. court, and the regular people get the not early birds get the 8:30. So or the 8. But there's no booking at 9, which everybody always wanted. So,
right.
but no one talks about that change now. That was 3-4 years ago. Um, you said a couple of things there before, and I'm going to ask you this now as a president. You see all the departments, and
Yep.
as well as I do, and I can, we educate members. Unfortunately, I have to educate you now, but we as directors educate members. I just had a phone call from a club that we're working with in California, and the gent out there said, "Hey, how much do we subsidize? I mean, how much can we lose in each department? We shouldn't be losing money in department." And I said, "You're going to lose money in every department.
Mhm.
The biggest job the general manager has is how much of the membership's dues is he going to allocate on the budget each year to each department so that they get to break even. And if they lose against that, then you got a problem."
Yep.
But you go and you expect, right, as president, unfortunately, this, but food and beverage is going to lose probably $1 on every dollar. I mean, it's
Mhm.
right.
Yeah. Oh, so yeah. Look, I have known. Thankfully, going way back in time, I knew that food and beverage is going to lose 3, 4, 5, $600,000 a year. Just know that that's a given, right?
Right.
And so now that so in the transition to now in this role, I've already known that, but that's not none of that's new to me. I mean, everything is a subsidy. I mean,
Yeah.
the golf course is the biggest subsidy out there, and I have really had people look at me strangely when I said I said you're really complaining about the wrong thing. You think food and beverage is the big loss leader. I said that's what the golf course is, and they like, there's no way. And I go, what's our budget out there? $3 million. I said, do you think we're driving that in revenue from rounds ago? It's not happening. And that's when their minds start really going, oh my gosh, I had no idea. I said, our dues, we pay for all this that's going on here through that. So we're going to lose money everywhere. You can't have 5 restaurants open at the
And,
same time
and make
and
money.
staffed, and say you're going to make money. That's why
Well,
it's not
with a limited universe. I mean, you
correct.
can't get people off the street, folks.
Correct. You want privacy. You want private, it's our own club, and you want to be more, even you want to try to rein it in and get less members. I go, then you're going to have to pay more. That's how this works. It's if you want exclusivity, then you're going to have to pay for that because you're going to have a shrink. You're shrinking your available market that you have to be able to use and therefore spend in those facilities. And that has been really, it's kind of been fun in a way to keep showing that and explaining that to people because then it gets around, right? Then people can start talking about it. But that's the reality of clubs.
Are you a club that, as president, you're thinking capital expenses should be covered really by initiation fees?
Yeah.
You don't want to do it so you're thinking capex takes care of initiation fees take care of capex, and then operational costs are covered by the dues.
Yes, the operations are all dues, and then we have a capital charge. So we also have a capital charge we implemented as well monthly, so that goes to the same thing. So it goes to, I say it's for repairs and maintenance, but it also becomes a war chest for other capital things that improvements we want to do
or
to the club.
or emergencies.
Correct. Well, that's what I mean. Emergencies where that's where it really got put in a few years back because it used to be like 30, like 25, $30. And then we had during COVID, we had the air conditioning system go out. So all of a sudden we got a $150,000 ticket. We had no money for it, right? Not enough to cover it. So that became the beacon to say we need to address this and have a plan going forward for it. And now we finally are to the point where we right-sized it. So we have for our club, we have a fair capital assessment or capital charge per month. We have a service charge for the, kind of to supplement the staff, and then we just have then initiation fees cover other long range plans that we have as well.
The other thing you brought up there is fantastic. You said the golf course is a budget of 3 million. And I just had a massive discussion with a yacht club. And the yacht club, and this is a New England thing, I think. Back in the times these clubs were founded, you'd have Men's Day or the Wanderers or whatever you want to call them, the hikers on the course. And they would get as you said, a group of 50 guys. They'd go out, no charge, right? Now they're calling your pro shop. The pro shop's setting up the divvying up the times. They're making it work. And the members sometimes in some of these clubs say, well, there shouldn't be a fee for Men's Day.
Right.
And I have to discuss and say, well, wait a minute. You just said it. There's $3 million out there. We've got to get some of that back. And we're having to pay the pro or the pro shop, maybe the front desk person that's doing all that organization sometimes.
Right.
The yacht club had this big full meeting. I won't name the yacht club. And the last question by one of the members was, well, our biggest subsidized asset, if you want to call it an asset, is the committee boat that goes out every day for the 10 to 12, maybe 20 boats that race every day. Some days it's 6, some days it's 8. And racing is free.
Right.
And I said, well, yeah, and it shouldn't be. Right. And the Commodore said, but Ed, that's the mission of our club. I said, well, the mission of a golf club is golf, and yet Men's and Ladies' Day, they get charged. Do you charge for Men's and Ladies' Days? Anytime you walk into an event, is there a lot of a free events, or is it?
No, Ladies' Day, they'll still have a play day, right? So it's Thursday, and then they'll have a small event for it. But again, they're still paying for carts and everything else. I don't think there's a fee for that, or if it is, it's nominal. It's like $5 or something like that,
Okay.
just to cover the.
But the men's member guest.
Oh,
that's another whole story, right?
That is an event.
I won't ask how much that is, but at clubs that I've been a member at, I'm still a member at Walkabout. That's the biggest ticket in the summer. I mean, 3-day member guest, without a doubt, right?
It is. I mean, it is. Ours has escalated astronomically in terms of its cost, but so have the amenities that go along with it, right? And the event is something that's really, it's something that everybody wants. We sell it out every time. I mean, we sell it out. We have a wait list for it, and then we parse that wait list. But again, if we have 90 teams that get into that, we'll have 120, 125 that are on the list.
That's crazy. I don't get into mine. I'm a non-resident member, and I'm on the wait list every year. There's no way I'm getting in as non-resident.
Yeah, and that's one of those things where what do you do how do you combat that? We've even talked about it. Like, if you made the wait list 2 years in a row, then are you automatically in for the third year and do something like that? And I let the golf committee handle that. The golf committee and the MGA, right? Let them deal with making that decision. I got enough of those I get hung up on.
Speaking of the men's member guest, that is a tradition that hasn't changed. I mean, from when I was a little kid, my father was on the wait list, got in. It was the biggest weekend of the summer for our family. Probably you remember those weekends too.
Yeah.
That's one thing that hasn't really changed, but what has changed? What are you doing differently down there to engage your next generation, the younger members, because I think the younger members will still play the men's member guest, but there might be things that they don't like about the old tradition. What are you doing to try to balance the youth and tradition?
I mean, our club has in the last since I would say since COVID and really more the last couple of years has really like new members coming in are getting, I mean, very young, right? In the um, especially in the
It,
30s, right? So we'll say 28 to 35.
that's looking very young to me.
Which
They
is
look younger and younger every time.
yes,
That's very
and it's to me it's great, right? And so there is a our median age has dropped about 7 years in the last few, which has been great. So the tradition of a member guest and again it's so much golf, right? Then you have we'll say a players night, or it used to be called a stag night, now it's
Stag
just a
night.
players
Yeah.
night.
Yeah.
And then you have a party on the night before the final, or the because we don't do it the final day, we don't, because there's a shootout, but the night before the final day where you have the spouses or such to come. But you made that into now a an event where you've got music and it's a party for everybody, right? And you have to be in the event to partake of that atmosphere. And that one change, making that much more into a kind of
Inclusive for
yeah,
the
that's
spouses.
yeah, the exclusivity is the key, right? But also again having that kind of a lively younger, I'm not big in this word, but the vibe to it with the music. The younger guys are the ones that they're the first ones to get their names in, right? It's
Tickets.
like they
Yeah.
want to be a part of that. So we have that, and then another thing that our pro has done a great job. He's got a long-standing history with Titleist, and we are a great partner with them. Is kind of the like the gift that you get for or the gifts that you get for playing in it. It's like a, I mean, it's the greatest thing. You got so many different options, whether it's Peter Millar stuff or Titleist equipment that you can select that you want as your items that you want to get. People again, they can't believe, they're overwhelmed with, wow, this is something else. It's those little things that you get to make it a better event, but then it also it's kind of the arms race as to who's getting more for what tournament, and who runs a better member guest. But
That's
I think what I would say the old stodgy look of a member guest, it was very rigid, and you had to wear, if you were a winner, you had to wear your blazer, and none of that goes on anymore. It's much more
yeah.
fun. I'd say
That's
the whole atmosphere is fun now as opposed to tradition based.
merch is important. You brought it up, and it is extremely, especially at those big tournaments. And the merchandisers themselves are realizing that if they're not there, like if Callaway's not got the bag for the raffle, people will notice that. But again, it's just like I just had a gen on with gift cards and country clubs, and most people who get a gift card spend over the gift card at the club
Yep.
or the hotel. Same thing with if you get a Callaway putter, you're probably going to end up buying a Callaway driver if you like the putter.
Yep.
And so these merchandisers are also realizing that it's important to be part of these huge events.
Hmm.
Um, I run every club I have, we run a camp, and I always have either Wilson or Babolat or one of the reps there on the ball machine. They've got all the rackets out, and they'll sell, you know, at a discounted price. Because I say, hey, if you buy a racket on the day, it's 30% off. We'll sell
Sure.
like 50 rackets in a week.
Yep.
It happens. So the merchandisers do make an effort to get there. It's a great point. Um, Here's another thought I had, because you're in business and you've seen the side of, you understand the club business as well. How do you fight? And I've had this happen in interviews. I love being a business person. How do you fight the business side overtaking the vibe of the club? We all have to get the people into food and beverage. We all have to market that. When does that become factory like rather than club like?
Yeah, I mean it's great.
It's
It is,
tough,
but
right?
your whole thing is because you do have to balance the budget, right? The budget, you're fighting that all the time, because what you don't want to do is, fall short, right? Because that's now the GM's hot ticket, and you've got enough committees and everybody else is watching it. To me, it's more the education to all the committees of how the club works. And one of the things we did last year, first, but kind of going into my first year, actually was on, yeah, my first year as president, this past October, we did a board retreat so the board changed over October annual meeting, and we had our first board meeting kind of that third week of that month. In between them, we scheduled a board retreat where we had club benchmarking come, and
Hmm.
also I always get it wrong, but it's Kubler.
KK and W.
KKW, right? So
Coughlin,
yeah,
Kubler, and yeah.
so they came, and so we went to a different club in Atlanta, and for the 2 days or day and a half, and they came and presented for several hours, and a lot of things like the fact that everything's a subsidy, right, is talked about, and you have members that haven't been part of this, or that, especially the new board members, and they're blown away, and there's like first they can't believe it, and it takes a lot of fact-based discussion, and then all of a sudden it's like, wow, I had no idea. And then the idea was, well, now you're going to tell your committees this is how this works, right? You're going to pass that knowledge down so that we get a broader understanding of how club operations work. Because to your point, we don't want it to be something that we go, all right, look, we're running behind in food and beverage in this facility and this facility, so now we have to cut the hours there, and so that we can stop losing as much there, right? Yet still have a good member experience. So we have a foundation of member experience is number one, right? That is where we're guiding all of our kind of principles and our decisions around. But at the same time, making sure that we're not doing something that's just at the best of being real stewards of the money of our membership, right?
Hmm.
So we've been fortunate in the last couple of years. We've been undertaking renovations over time, and we started really a big one about a year ago in touching various phases in the clubhouse to
Hmm.
improve the look, the feel. As we say now, the vibe of all these rooms is so much more up to date, current, and the food selections are more applicable to the locations within, and that in itself makes it more fun, engaging, entertaining for a variety of members. So that's driving the attendance to these. And same thing with
Great.
events. We're doing a lot more events, smaller ones, wine tastings, wine dinners. But we just had, because our course as of today just closed for the next 7 months, where we were going to do just a regrassing of the fairways and greens. Now we're doing a part of a master plan. We're going to do Bill Bergen's doing a renovation to the course. So last night, as our final night on the golf course, we had a cuisine on the green, where we literally put tables on the 18th green, and
That's
had
so smart.
150
So
people
smart.
out. We had a band there on the porch of the golf shop. We did an auction of all 18 flags, which our pro has a nice. He had every one of the flags cleaned, put in the frame, had
Frames.
a metal plate to it, auctioned them off, and all the proceeds went to the employee fund for the annual fund that we do at the end of the year. Uh,
Fantastic.
so things like that. I mean, that's just one, but those kind of events that are kind of, they're not something that you put out like in a member guest where it's 6 months in advance. These are kind of, all right, next week, 2 weeks from now, we're doing this. We're going to have this event. We're seeing a lot more participants, but wider ranging participants, not the same 50 that are doing everything. We're getting a lot of different people getting into it. And as a result, those groups are now spending more time coming to the club, just because you're drawing them in to things that they want to do. So that now when there's no event, they just want to come to the club. That becomes their destination.
So wonderful. Those are some great points you've made there. I've always said to clubs, a couple comes to me and says, "Hey Ed, we're not making enough. The revenue's not." And I'll say, "Well, let's go to the membership and look at who's spending money, right?" So you go high to low, and it'll be like the top 25 members, and then there's a sudden drop. So you've got this nucleus. And what you just said is you've got to create events that grow the nucleus from the
Yes.
center, from the core, because you're always going to have the same 25 people have always done that event or want to do every event.
Yep.
How do you get the other 30 involved? And something like that on the 18th green. What a fantastic idea. Are you guys seasonal down there? Because now the golf course is going to be closed through the summer when people are out
Yeah.
of school.
No, we're 12 months of the year.
Yeah.
January is our slowest month, obviously, it's usually raining down here. But no, this was let's just say that was there was contentiousness, I guess, to try to get past to do it, because the only time you can regrass, and we're going to go from Bermuda to Zoysia in the fairways, and we're going to do a different bent grass in the greens, you have to do it during the growing season. The growing season is
Right,
primarily going to be right. It's May,
right
June,
now.
July, August.
Yeah, right now.
And so yeah, we just did our entire golf season. We condensed to 60 days. And we jammed every tournament in. We did. It was we
Your
had
director of golf must be exhausted.
oh they
That's like
are.
it's like a summer. Well, it's like a summer up north, right? You know how it
Yeah,
is.
correct.
It's
Correct.
like a
Yeah. I
summer
mean,
at Simonides, 60 day. We call it the 100-day war.
the 100-day war. Yes, that's exactly right. Joe Felder used to coin the 100-day war every year
Yeah,
up in
I've heard
Rivers.
that for years, and I use it because when someone comes and starts working for me or working at one of the other clubs, like guys, you got 100 days, you don't have a day off, or you do, but
Yeah.
just pound it for 100 days. It's like study time. You're gonna revise for a month. You're gonna be working here for 3 months. That's it. You're done.
Yeah. Correct.
Hey, what's the? And I know this is off topic but I've been hearing a lot of people leaving Bermuda. What was that decision about? How come that's come about?
Yeah. So from the and we're again kind of Georgia is a transition zone, right? In the kind of where you're
Yeah,
not
agricultural zone there. Yeah.
you don't really know from a heat standpoint, but the golf course was when it was built. So we've been around since 1915, but it's in a second location. It was moved to its current location in 1987. And when they built it, it's had that same basically A1 Bermuda that's been around forever. And a lot of times, right, whether it becomes agronomy practices over time, and and we'll say longer time, 20 years ago, where you weren't aerating fairways all the time, right? You start getting creep of different varieties in. The turf doesn't become as good each year, compaction, everything else. It got to a point where we had to make a change. So we either strip it and relay new Bermuda down, or it became an idea. Let's go to Zoysia. It's a better playing surface in general. The ball sets up better. Now people contended and said, well, it doesn't go the ball doesn't run as much on it. And I said to them, well, that's fine, but you can hit your 3-wood and your hybrids off this much easier than you can off the type Bermuda.
Can't
So
please all the people all the time.
exactly. It's like, well, okay, yes, it won't run out as much, but it'll be easier. So the goal was, and we evaluated several grasses, just like on the greens. We had one of our board members actually reached out to on Twitter. At the time it was Twitter, one of the experts in kind of the turf grass management, that's Dr. Hurley. And he came to the course and kind of sat down with us and showed us how we can evaluate. I think we had 9 or 10 different green varieties that we were surveying. Oh, it was
Wow.
crazy, all side by side, literally just lined up
Yeah.
in our
Yeah.
nursery. But yeah, the move to Zoysia was the easiest. That was it was just for that better turn in the spring, right? When you come out of dormancy, it
Earlier.
came back better. It was better in the winter time when it was dormant. It was better to play off of, but it just provided a much better long-term surface for us.
Have you heard that it stops the other growth
Yes,
from other grasses?
yes,
That's what I'm hearing the most
yes,
of.
yeah. So when you can lay zoysia fairways and not worry about Bermuda
Encroaching.
creep from
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
it actually just basically kills it off. It overtakes. So the
Okay.
zoysia is stronger to that. So
All right.
that was real helpful.
All right. So I do this with most guests, but you are so well versed in club and hospitality and now president. I got 4 hot shot quick round
Okay,
fire questions for you.
got it.
Favorite golf course you've ever played?
Uh, Wingfoot West.
Second one?
No. Huh?
Anything second? What's second?
National Golf League. So I always say for my favorite, just because of the club atmosphere, is Wingfoot. But if I could play a club for the rest of my life every day, it would be National Golf League.
Okay. Go-to club for 150 yards.
Either.
Okay. Most underrated job in the club at the club environment.
Most underrated?
Underrated. Yeah, underrated. Obviously, I think this from the membership point. What members think? What don't they rate as a job at a club?
Okay, I'm still kind of. I want to be rapid fire, but I'm not
That's
understanding
okay. It's a
underrated.
tough
The
question.
underrated.
You don't want to get it wrong with
I think
being president.
I think the assistant. I think the assistant manager of the club is kind of the most underrated. He's the workhorse. You got the GM, who's definitely the figurehead, but the guy doing 90% of it, seeing everything is the assistant GM.
I'm glad you said that because I'm director of operations. That's kind of me.
Okay.
It doesn't stop. Everything
Right.
falls on my desk, down here in
Yes.
the wintertime.
Yes.
Okay. This is a great one. I like this one. One amenity that every club should have by 2026.
Fitness center.
Hey, Dave, it's been great having you on.
Huh.
Your ideas and what you were doing there and what you bring to the breadth of experience you bring to what you're doing now is fantastic. And I might have to do volume two sometime
Yeah,
soon.
I'm available anytime, man. This was great. I appreciate you reaching out, and I had a lot of fun.
Thanks so much. And we'll see you soon. If I pass through Atlanta, I'll knock on your door.
Uh,
I'll text you first.
anytime, anytime.
Thanks so much. Thank you.
Thanks. Okay.